Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar. I'm just seeing people start to log in now. So we're going to go over a couple of notes really fast. And then I know Peg has a lot of really beautiful plants that she is surrounded by that she's going to be covering today. So Peg, it looks like you're surrounded by spring.
Summer.
Summer. Yes. It's, oh man, these seasons are progressing. All right, so a couple of notes for those of you who are new to these classes. We are expecting a large crowd today, so I'm anticipating we probably won't be able to get to everybody's questions. If you do have questions, you'll submit those by the Q&A box. You can just type your question in. I'll be monitoring it and giving those questions to Peg when she is ready to take questions. If we do not get to your question today, please know you can follow up with us in a couple of ways after the class, and I'll review this again at the end, but you can hit reply to your confirmation email or call our stores. Those are both great ways to get in touch with us. We are recording today, just so that everybody knows that recording will be available following the call. And if you have any tech issues, I'm enabling the chat right now so that you can reach out to me and I can help you guys out as best as I can. So I'm happy to do that. I think that's it on my end. Peg, I know Peg really needs no introduction, but for those of you who are on this call for the first time, Peg does a lot of our classes. She works primarily from our Fair Oaks store. She was one of our participants on our Gardening Advisor TV program back when we had that, and she's one of our most knowledgeable instructors. So brings a lot of experience from her own garden and from her work at the store to talk about container gardens today, which is a great and very fun topic. So Peg, take it away.
Thank you for that sweet introduction. It's something I absolutely love. And when I came in this morning, we had, I want to say, at least 10 deliveries from our favorite suppliers. And I looked at the annual house and I just went, oh my goodness, this is so exciting. And it really is. So I'm going to say it is definitely time. We are into that warmer period. We've had some unusually warm weather. Our soil is not wet. We need some rain. The soil temperatures are much higher than they would normally be at this time of the year. And so we're set up for a beautiful spring. Now, the only thing that we have to watch a little bit is the nighttime temperatures, I think Monday night, Tuesday night, and it's easy enough to cover or bring in. There's only a couple of things, one of which is basil. You can leave that in your window until Wednesday. And then I think we're going to be all right. Do I have a crystal ball? No, I don't. But we've got all these beautiful plants. And I have already, because my ground is warmer, I've already put in some of my tomatoes. And if I need to, if it gets 40 or below, I will cover them. That's just all there is to it. Now, one beauty of container gardening is that soil temperature is always warmer than the soil. And so I consider it pretty safe for most of these things now. As I said, if it really decides to plummet, we don't know what it's going to do. But if it gets down to the 30s, then you need to cover or bring in. But containers are easy, and the frost cloth is wonderful. So I say it's time to grab your gloves. And of course, these are my fox gloves. Grab your hat. Yes, I went to the dermatologist this week and she said, la-di-da-di-da. And I said, I wear my hat, okay? Now, if I'm working with these fox gloves, which I can feel everything with these, and we do have them here at Fair Oaks, and they are in a basket somewhere, okay? So you have to look for them. And when I'm working with wet, I slip on one of these inexpensive plastic things from Costco, okay? And they can be reused too. So you grabbed your hat, you grabbed your gloves. I have decided, because I saw so many gorgeous flowers down there, to leave off the pictures that I might normally have and talk primarily about plants. But one of the first things that I want to do, which showed me how I changed my mind, in how I was going to do this seminar today is a little video that I asked Bryn, our incredible in-house photographer, marketing lady who is so talented. And I just gave her an idea about what I wanted, and she did it perfectly. So can we play the little video that Bryn did? This is what our annual house is like right now. And it is so exciting. Yes. Down. Potato vine, and that's one of the things that is cold sensitive, and you need to be a little, you can put that in your windowsill along with your basil. Okay, so we've got a lot in front of us, and I hope I can stay on track with what I have in mind. So one of the first questions, not going to go into the how-to yet because I'm just so excited about these flowers. Okay, we will get to that. Let's start with some of the reasons why you select plants. And if you're in the habit of just doing one or two things and you think, if it isn't broken, I'm not going to fix it. Well, maybe this is the year you should fix it. Maybe this is the year you should try something different, okay? And when I say different, look at combinations. It is difficult to beat coleus. There are coleus that do well in shade, part shade, and then there are coleus that love the sun. And this one happens to be one of those that loves the sun. And this one will get pretty tall. Now you can pinch it if you want to keep it a little shorter. So this could be your tall plant, okay? Now we want to go into a filler kind of plant. Now we're talking sun now. And we need to choose plants that work well together and have the same needs. This, whether it be sun or shade or moist or on the dry side. But these like the same thing. We have so many incredible petunias. Now, I want to say that Proven Winners, which has gotten to be a household name now, have some absolutely beautiful plants. But they are not the only beautiful plants. So I'm looking for something that looks really good with this coleus. That's going to be my thriller, that tall plant. This one is going to be a filler and a spiller, but look how neat that is, okay? And this one is a crazy tunia, and there are some neat crazy tunias, but look how fun that is. Now let's see. Is there something else that I would want to put into that? Well, you could actually also, although it gets quite large, remember, if we're looking for more color, we've got a thriller and a filler, and now can I hold all this in my hand? We'll find out. And a spiller. Is that fun or what? Now another one that's fun. Geraniums. Geraniums are that plant that almost everybody has to have. But let's walk a little on the wild side. This is not a new geranium. It's been around for 100 years, and it's still beautiful. It's called Centennial. Well, actually, this one's not. This one's called Cold Shield. What? Well, anyway, it looks like Centennial to me. Look at that wonderful blossom, and look at the leaves. When you're selecting your plants for containers, you want to look at the foliage just as much as you look at the flower. Now, one could combine this also as that thriller plant and fill it with these geraniums. And isn't that fun? Okay, let's talk about some other things that go together. We have this incredible coleus. It's called Peter's Wonder. And then we have a spiller coleus. So those could work in the same pot. Now, what would you put with that? These are, again, sun or part shade. You could, the sun colea will also grow in part shade. But let's talk about a sun plant first. Okay, this happens to be a proven winner, but we have some others out there that are equally beautiful. The purple looks good in that, doesn't it? At least it does to me because I like purple. Okay. You could also combine the yellow, and this happens to be the Super Bell's lemon slice. Let's see what else we have here. Let's put these two together with that. Is that not attractive? So you've got a thriller, you've got a filler, you've got a spiller. A couple of spillers for that matter, but that's all right. Now, here is another plant that I want to tell you about. And it likes warmer soil temperature, but your containers are warmer. Should be fine, just as I said, watch those night temperatures. Vinca, it loves the heat. If you have a really hot deck or hot patio or wherever you're gardening in your garden, and it's scorching hot, this will take it, the vinca. And they're the tall growing vincas, and now they're the cascading vincas. And combining the two is absolutely incredible. And then introduce you to, I have some beautiful pictures of these that I had but was going to use, and I just had to say no. Okay, I've got to show this. I have fallen in love with some tropicals and the elephant ears, alocasia. This one's called Mojito. It's very, very interesting. Now this gets quite large, okay, for the thriller in your pot. It will take some heat, and it is beautiful with both the upright as your filler and the cascade as your spiller. Just absolutely beautiful. Could be combined with any of these things, really, you know. This one will take the heat too. But here's the beauty of this.
What was the name of that plant you're holding right now?
This is an elephant ear.
Okay.
Colocasia is the botanical name.
Yes. Okay.
And this particular variety is Mojito.
Okay.
Okay. If you are going for something really tall that is a conversation piece, those we can do. Okay, Danny, I'm going to put you to work with me. Okay, sweetie. Can you bring that over here and join me, please? Here, for just a second. Sit it on this.
Okay.
I can stay.
You want to grab that?
Well, let's see if I can. We're going to shift because it's worth it, okay? Gonna do that. Bring it all the way over here. All right. We really need to talk about this plant. This, again, is an elephant ear, okay? And we're going to have a lot of smaller ones of this later. These are the ones that are potted up. This is, I'm pretty sure, Mayan mask. I want to be sure that because they changed these varieties on me, I don't have that particular tag in here. We're going to call it Mayan mask because it looks like Mayan mask to me, okay?
Mayan Paradise.
Oh, Mayan Paradise, see? They change it up, all these new ones, but Mayan mask is equally beautiful. Look at the back side of that leaf. It's so striking. And here is the front side. Very, very interesting. Now, this plant is going to get much larger. It's beautiful in containers. It's beautiful in the ground. It is underplanted with a sedum. And sedums are wonderful spillers that like the sun or part shade with petunias, and then diamond frost. It's a euphorbia, and it blooms all summer long. This is just a striking plant. And I do want to tell you that I learned how to overwinter these things. I'm not going to brag yet, okay, but they've come through quite fine. In the ground, I covered them with a couple of bags of mulch, really on top of where they're growing, okay, and then threw over a double layer of a landscape fabric and pinned it down, and they came through winter just beautifully. Previously, I had overwintered them and under LED lights in my basement. Now, I didn't have to do that this year, so I'm thrilled. Okay, Danny, you put that back for me, please, darling. Okay. Now, let me talk about a couple of other unusual spiller plants, okay? These are unusual and fantastic. Really only need this one, right? This one is Silver Falls vacandra. Silver Falls vacandra. It's absolutely striking. And actually, it goes well with Darth anthis. Darth anthis has a little bloom on it when it gets mature and quite established. And we actually, for the first time ever, had some established ones coming in as hanging baskets. And I saved one, and I'm actually going to pot it up because I want the world to know what this plant can look like. And I love using it, and I do, and it loves the sunshine. Now, when I say sunshine, these plants will do well also with 6 hours, okay? Any time during the day. This is what that plant does. It's grown for its foliage, but look at that. Isn't that exciting? Oh, it's exciting to me.
Hey, what kind of plant is that again?
Pardon?
I missed the name of that plant.
It's lotus.
Lotus, okay.
Lotus. Parrot's beak. If you could see it closer, you would see why it's called parrot's beak. It's the flower that calls it parrot's beak, but it's known as lotus. And look at that plant. Isn't that exciting? I wish there was enough out there for every one of you to have one. There isn't, okay? It's beautiful. And this one's going into a pot, okay? So that could cascade out. Now, if you wanted in a bigger container, much bigger, you wanted a thriller, look what that coleus looks great with it, you know? So this is what you do. You kind of wander around and you ask yourself, what do I want? What's unusual? Ooh, the purples. And here again, this is one of those headliner night skies. It's more mounded, but that purple, I love purple and orange, looks fantastic with that. So that would be a really good choice, you know. You could also, and there's so many different lantana, so many different colors, and I love the bicolors. And that, oh my goodness, Danny, that is exciting. You've got to get excited about this, okay? Look, can you see that with that lantana without me holding it up? It's just remarkably beautiful. So, see what my mind is all over the place because I just love all these things. It's just so interesting. Okay, let's talk about a few more thriller plants because there's so many different things out there. Change it up. Do something different this year. I absolutely. Now we're talking more shade here. Part shade on this one. I've never grown it in the sun. I don't think it says. Whoa, it says full sun on here. Okay. So we're going to say this is a full sun plant then. All righty. They are, this is a variegated with the yellow touches, and this is very different, okay? They're irisine, I-R-E-S-I-N-E. One variegated color, one a different color. These are striking as thrillers, okay, in the shade situation. And they would be beautiful. Amazingly, I don't think I even brought up, but I did. The impatiens now that aren't having a problem with powdery mildew, they've been just wonderful. And they're so nice. They come in 6-packs too. But you could, oh, look how pretty this one is with that. Isn't that exciting? Wow. And shade. So we have a lot of things for shade. Now, of course, spikes are always great, and you could even combine this so that you've got 2 thrillers going up. So there's lots of wonderful, wonderful combinations. Now I need to say, oh, here's Persian Shield. I don't think Persian Shield loves to have the hottest of sun. Let's see what this tag says, because I haven't grown this one in full sun either. I think it pretty much would rather not have the hottest afternoon sun. Okay, so there again is a wonderful thriller. Now in part sun, you could still grow your petunias, and they're beautiful with that. If you want a touch of yellow in there, you can use maybe one of the coleus with that. And let's put this as your thriller. Isn't that exciting? I think it is. You could also add a Darth anthis to that, because it has all the same complementary tones. And then there's another one over here. Now I have used this one a lot. Love this plant, okay? And it will grow in sun or shade. And it's just commonly called the Swedish ivy. And it'll grow up and out. So it can be your thriller and your filler and almost your spiller, to which you add other things. You could add any of these things that are exciting to you. Again, I'm picking on this lantana. I do love lantana. Now, let's talk for a minute about some of those things that draw hummingbirds particularly. I have a lovely front porch that looks out over a number of pots that are planted specifically for hummingbirds. And I do have a hummingbird feeder there. And it's about time for me to put that up now, because my azaleas are coming into bloom, and that's usually when the hummingbirds begin to arrive. So in that area, I have to have a few plants. Absolutely have to, because they are magnets. And I'm going to accumulate those and hope I don't tip all that over. Okay, one that they adore. It's not as showy to me as some of these plants, but I absolutely have to have it. And
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. Sorry. We've got a couple people asking, what was the spiky plant you paired with the irisine as the second thriller?
Mercy.
Questions about it, so I want to make sure we get that addressed.
Second, the Darth anthis. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, that might be it. Or the tall purple one. Was that it?
But this is Isoring also. Okay. It's
Okay.
absolutely striking.
Yeah. Wow, that's gorgeous.
This was down with the petunias. Beautiful. Yeah.
Wow.
Roots easily too. You can pinch it and tip it and root it also. I think that's what it was. Now it wasn't this, was it? I'm fixing to dump that. Was it this one, Sally?
It may be. I was answering a question when you mentioned it. Sorry. So I wanted to make sure we got it addressed. I didn't get to see the plant. What's the name of that plant?
This is the Swedish ivy.
Swedish ivy. Okay.
I'm probably going too fast. Am I going too fast, Sally?
I don't, there's a lot of plants to cover, but I am having, I usually send out the plant names, but we've got, actually, this is great. We just have, I want everybody to know, I'm going to send out a plant list following the class. So if this is moving too fast, I usually send them out during, there's just a lot of interest in this class. So I'm having a lot of chatter on the side, which is great. I'm answering questions and people.
Well, I hope they're enjoying this, because I just was so excited and wanting to share my thoughts with so many of these plants. I am afraid I'm going a little too fast because I'm trying to get it all in, and I know that I can't do that. Okay. But okay, I'll slow down a little bit. Let's talk about some of those absolute favorite plants. And I'm going to leave Vermillionaire for a second and come to my top notch now plants for hummingbirds in particular, but birds, bees, and butterflies all the way around. These are relatively new within the last couple of years. Salvia is not new. We have perennial salvias and we have annual salvias. And these didn't live a winter for me. With a little bit of attention, maybe they would have. Maybe I could have wintered them in the mulch pile like I did some of the colocasia elephant ears. But this is a new group of salvias. It is big. You can see this one's young and it's already over 2 feet tall. It will certainly get to 3 feet easily. But I have several of these last year, near my hummingbird feeder, and they constantly went to this plant. And it's called the Rocketing series, and you'll find it in the annual section. And it's absolute full sun. It'll take anything you throw at it, or it'll grow in part sun. That's 6 hours, anytime during the day. And it's a Rocketing, R-O-C-K-I-N, the Rocketing series. And there's several. This is deep purple. There's a beautiful blue. There's several in this blue suede shoes. Isn't that fun? And the Rocketing series. So this is a wonderful plant for that purpose. And yes, you could underplant this. Vinco would be, oh, perfect here. This is an incredible hummingbird plant, but incredible for birds, bees, and butterflies too. It will take all the heat, okay? It will also do part sun, Nandina. But that's a big plant also. But if you have a big pot, you've got this in the center, and you've got a couple at the edge, you've got it. That's all you need. It's just beautiful. Okay, so I'll let you take that back, please, Steve, because it's big and heavy. Okay, all right. In addition to that, but smaller, let's talk about Gartenmeister fuchsia. This is one that won't take that hot sun. It takes some sun because I've got it where it hits in the afternoon, but my afternoon sun is modified somewhat by the large oak trees that are around, not necessarily giving it shade, but I'm convinced that the temperature is considerably less, even in the afternoon sun, when I have this modification around it, okay? It's not blasting hot sun on a day. So we're talking, give it a little protection from the afternoon sun. Gartenmeister, Gartenmeister, Gartenmeister fuchsia. It's a wonderful thriller, okay? And then you could put with that, if you're really geared to the hummingbirds particularly, this is a marvelous, it's called vermilion, okay? And it's a Cuphea, C-U-P-H-E-A. It's a Cuphea, okay? So you've got a thriller, a filler, and then somewhat of a spiller. Anthis is another attractant, and they come in different colors. Really wonderful. We're really talking about some super, super hummingbird plants. Now, if you want to add just some fun interest, that lotus or this could be your spiller. And I love the grays. Gray is a lot like your good black dress. Gray makes everything look good. It's good with all of these colors. It's wonderful, okay? So, okay, we talked a little about those specific hummingbird plants. Now, I want to share, and this is something that we've only gotten from one company, and I don't know how long we'll have it. We'll try to keep it, okay? Because it was not a plant that I knew until last year. And you know, I'm looking for they're calling it a sunflower. I was looking for a botanical name on this. Unbelievable brown-eyed girl. Oh, it's a helianthus, okay? All right. And it's annuous, which says this is an annual. Well, I can tell you what happened to me, though I don't give any guarantees. 2 years ago, I planted one of these because we'd only had a few of them, and they just were blooming all summer long. And we had one that needed a little rejuvenation. And so I took it home and put it in the ground. It continued to bloom until frost took it out. But much to my surprise, it came back the following spring. Not only did it come back, it also seeded around. And I looked out yesterday and I see the original plant is coming back and the little babies are coming back. I enjoy things that seed, that are easy to pull up any excess. I'm not fond of those things that are difficult to pull up. And I have some Chasmantium, some oat grass that I absolutely love, and it grows even in the shade, but it seeds obnoxiously and it's difficult to get up. But I refuse to part with it because I love it so much, you know, and it's a love-hate relationship for sure, you know. So those are wonderful. It was a surprise. Every day is a learning curve, you know. You come in and you ask us questions and we do our best to answer them with all of our experiences. And then we say, oh, that's new. I haven't tried that yet. Well, because you can't try everything, you know, but it's fun. Okay, one thing I haven't touched on that I really would like to touch on, and that is that vegetables and herbs can be grown beautifully in containers also. A deck, if you only have a deck and a small patio, you can have pots of these herbs that you just go out and pick and harvest and use right away in your kitchen. Now, I loved the look and the presentation of this little container, and it has so many herbs in it, I couldn't resist bringing it up. And we'd need to talk about sizes of containers. The smaller the container, the more often you're going to have to water. And in the heat of summer, if you have a small container, you'd better be prepared to water it twice a day to keep it going. So I don't do that because, number one, I'm working, or I just don't want to. I've got so many pots. I don't want to go out there and water twice a day. In fact, I don't want to water everything every day if I can avoid it. So I use big containers. This container for me is a little on the small side, but it's wonderful to enjoy and for a while. And then you can actually scoop these out and put them in separate containers and wind up with maybe just thyme in here. But this is most of the things that I enjoy cooking with. And I have my containers of herbs on my patio near the house so that I can run out and pick them, bring them in and cook right away. Thyme, the regular English thyme and the lemon thyme are my favorites. And there's a variegated lemon thyme that I absolutely love. Oregano is a must. And there's also a golden oregano that is flavorful. Rosemary, I have to have a big tall plant of rosemary. And rosemary art is the most hardy of the rosemaries. I have to have parsley. Parsley is a biennial. Okay, I need to sit this down. It's getting a little heavy because it's nice and moist. Parsley is a biennial. So this one's going to grow all this year. It's going to go to seed next year. And hopefully you'll get some seeding around it. But depending upon how you mulch, whether you get seeding or not, I like to mulch now when I can see my little plants that have come up and I know where they are. And so that's when I like to mulch, or I like to mulch later in the summer, just before these things seed, just before fall, so that it's all down before fall. Okay, so we're looking at parsley that's going to be wonderful. And you harvest it carefully, picking your leaves closely down, and it will just keep going all summer. So we've got thyme, oregano, rosemary, parsley, and then there's sage. A lot of people use sage in cooking with chicken, particularly with chicken and dressing. Love sage in that. Yes. Now, in addition to these things, which you don't grow necessarily for flowering, I love to add the basils. And while I want your typical Genovese type basil, which I use in primary cooking, I like to have some of the other basils around, particularly the Thai basil. And I like to let it go to flower because, again, it is an attractant for the butterflies and the bees and all of that, the pollinators. But in addition to that, I absolutely have to have the nasturtium, honey. Yes, nasturtiums. This one doesn't have a flower yet. It's a baby, but I love the leaf and the size of the leaf. This is something else in addition to the color of the leaf is the shape. Look how it contrasts with that parsley. So I've got a number of containers with these various things in it, and I like to tuck the nasturtiums into some of those containers. It's going to cascade out. In fact, if you put a small trellis, it would grow up, okay? But the blossoms are wonderful, and they are very tasty. I love to decorate things with them, but you can eat them also, as well as the leaves. It's a taste I can't quite describe, but it's beautiful. Now, in addition to that, there are calendulas. And these are all sun-loving plants that do quite well in part shade also. The calendulas are wonderful. You need to harvest them often. Part of the care of these plants is to deadhead. And if you're using this stuff, you can just deadhead automatically. Also enjoy picking some of it and bringing it inside and using it in an arrangement, even if it's a tiny little arrangement. My children always brought me their little love bouquets. And in the bay window above the sink, I always had small vases that I would put their little love bouquets in. And it's such fun. Now I have little Clara and Lydia bringing me those. Clara picking nice long stems. Lydia, I get the head of the flower from her. She's only 2. Oh, well, she's going to be 3 soon. Okay, calendulas. Wonderful, wonderful, and edible, okay? Into that an extremely popular plant now because people understand the value of it, are marigolds. And I picked up the one that was just very interesting. It's very dark. This is kind of a new one this year, and I really liked it. So marigolds, they are edible also. I can't tell you that I love the fragrance, and you can decorate with these. If you've got this beautiful salad, your wonderful presentation, you can use the calendulas, you can use the nasturtiums, and you can use the marigolds. Some people, I mean, they call them edible. I don't like the flavor of it particularly, but that's beside the point. Okay, wonderful, wonderful plant to put in your vegetable and herb garden or in your containers. And there's so many beautiful colors. So that's just a small touch on the herbs. And I don't really have time to hit the vegetables today. Here again, sweetie, I need to take you to take that one and move it over, okay? Let's talk briefly about, and I've got some absolutely beautiful containers around me here that if I have time, which I don't think I'm going to, I told Sally I could talk about this all week long, you know, because there's just so much that I'd like to share. Normally, I would have brought up a plastic container because it's so much easier for me to lift, but this container happened to be up here. And I'm very fond of all the ceramics. And most of them are fired quite well. And I haven't had any problem with them going through the winter, provided they are not sitting out with a saucer underneath and water. They're not sitting on soil, that there's some slightly elevated, perhaps with pot feet, on the patio or whatever. I've had very good luck, no guarantees, very good luck getting these through. And I love the size of this container because I can put a thriller, I can put a filler, and I can put a spiller in here, and it's big enough. Okay. I like to put a piece of landscape fabric over the hose, and it must have hose. That little tin container that I showed you earlier has had holes drilled in the bottom of it, okay? Because if you don't have hose, then you have a water burn, and that does not work. Okay, so that landscape fabric goes in the bottom. Now, I know that online you'll see, put a coffee filter over it, fine, that's okay. But it will not have the longevity that this does. And if I'm planting up something like the herbs or something that I want to go through the winter, I want this to be here because it keeps the soil in and the little buggies out. And so I really do like that. And then with a very good potting soil, I fill it 2/3 of the way before I start to plant it up. And then I open up just slightly the little root balls and place them inside and add more soil. I do not want to fill this any farther than 1.5 inches, perhaps, with the soil, because if you do, it is extremely difficult to water it. So let's say that you have filled that with, and let me sit this heavy top down, that you have gotten this planted up, okay? Let's talk just a little bit about, Sally, I'm going to try to leave you at least room for 2 or 3 questions. Let's talk just briefly about soils. Our Merrifield potting soil is a very good potting soil. I also have become enamored with this Fox Farm. It is probably the most expensive one that we sell, but it is like our Merrifield soil, an excellent soil. But this has additives that our Merrifield soil doesn't have. Now it's more expensive, okay? What I did last year and this year is I used half of my original soil, and then I put half fresh of this. Why did I do that? Because it already contains earthworm castings, vacandra. It has ocean forest things in it. It's all things that the shells or whatever from the sea that they have, crab meal, fish emulsion, shrimp meal, earthworm castings, kelp meal, oyster shell, all of these byproducts. So I feel like it's using a lot of things very well, and they are incorporated into this. And if you could see all of my lettuces, my bok choy, my spinach leaves this year are this big and nice and thick, and they're fantastic. So that's what I'm doing right now. If it's in the ground, a similar kind of thing. And I've even added a couple, when I ran out of the topsoil, I've even added just a couple of shovelfuls of this, which is lobster compost in the ground. If you're planting these things in the ground, this is worth the money. And a couple of scoops as you're planting is incredible. There are other good ones out there. We sell also spoma products are great, fantastic. And this has earthworm castings and alfalfa meal and feather meal. It's slightly different, but it's also good. Buy yourself a really good potting soil. It's very important. Now, to keep the squirrels out, I have used on the top of that soil small gravel. I love the red stones that were 3/8 inch, and you can get river jacks are good. The redstone, Danny, is called oh, for goodness sakes, anyway, Seminole chips. Thank you. Yes, and put maybe a quarter, half an inch on the top. When you're watering, the soil doesn't splash out, and the squirrels are always attracted to fresh soil. And so if that's covered up, they're not as likely to dig in it, okay? So the other thing that's very important is fertilization. And particularly, well, with all these things, but with these hanging baskets, when you buy a basket and you take it home, important that you water it properly. And in the heat of summer, that's daily, okay? And then you need to fertilize. All of the, I'm looking for the, I like to put Plantain. These are spoma products, and they're excellent. And they're similar. So Garden Tone, Plantain, I sort of use them, whatever I happen to have. Either one of them works, and it's all organic, and I love it. But I also like to use, and I don't, yeah, I do have it here. Okay, I like this bloom booster. This is not organic. So if you're an all organic person, then you need to pick up some of that fish emulsion, okay, and follow the directions on that. But it's imperative that you fertilize, particularly the baskets, every couple of weeks with some kind of fertilizer. This I put in originally. You can also add this, for instance, with the herbs. I just add some fresh of this every now and then, and maybe use some fish emulsion now and then. You can watch how your plants are growing, but it is imperative that you fertilize properly. And in containers, particularly baskets, but also in containers, highly recommend Jack's Blossom Booster. Whoa, I hope I haven't overwhelmed you. Sally, we'll take a few questions, honey.
Definitely. This is great. I love our container garden classes because people get so excited about it. That's when I've been having like conversations on the side the whole time. I'm gesturing I have two computer screens, one where I watch everybody talk and one where I'm watching you, Peg. Okay, so since we have a few minutes, I'm going to start out with a couple of big themes that people were talking about on the side. The first was, can you discuss a little bit about container plants that are great if you want to attract pollinators using your container gardens? We had a few people asking about that, and people asking about perennials. I know those kind of go together, but I know annuals can attract pollinators too. So
well, we did hit on that when I was talking about the hummingbirds.
yes,
They missed it. Okay. So I'm going to pick up a couple of them, and almost everything will attract them here. Annuals particularly, but a lot of perennials, and I didn't get into perennials today. There's just not time for that in 1 hour. But one of the tippy top plants that's good for all is the lantana. Okay, comes in a lot of different colors. Lantana, excellent. Okay, I mentioned pentas, excellent for all of them. Pollinators, comes in different colors. These need some sunshine. We're talking about some sunshine, 6 hours or more for those. Okay, let me see if I can reach out and find these again. This one will take sun, part shade, vermilion air. And this is a Cuphea, Cuphea, fantastic. Of course, they'll go to the petunias and the Calabricoa, part shade, Gartenmeister fuchsia. Okay, from what all I've got up here, I needed to mention this. Absolutely. Zinnias, incredible. Zinnias particularly are wonderful. They go for the center part here, okay? I have butterflies all over this, okay? Now, generally speaking, in the industry, we don't often get those that grow really tall and have a lot of blooms on them. And I absolutely have to have those because I enjoy cutting them and bringing them in the house, and they last really well as a cut flower. So I recommend that you pick up, and this is California Giants blend. They're the tall growing kinds that we don't get in here as plants. Buy a package of seeds and carefully plant these in the ground. You won't be sorry, okay? That's just touching on some of the things, because almost all of these plants draw the pollinators.
yeah.
But that's the highlights of those, okay?
Yeah. And I'll add too, for people who are interested in really getting in depth on pollinators, we're actually working on some materials right now. We have a lot of materials on pollinators, but Pollinator Week is in June. And so we're working with one of our colleagues, Caitlin. Peg, I don't know if you know Caitlin, but she works.
I do, yes.
Yeah. To create some resources for people who want specifically to attract our native butterflies with native plants, caterpillars, all that stuff. And we have resources on that already. If you're interested, you can contact.
Okay, well, let's touch on that native plant thing just for a second.
Yeah.
There are very few annuals that are native.
Yes.
I love native plants, and I have many on my property that were there when I bought it 60 plus years ago, okay? And I've added a lot. But no way do I want just natives. This zinnia is not a native. This lantana is not a native. And you cannot get a better pollinator.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Please don't get in your mind that you just have to have native.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good to have my philosophy, okay?
Yep. And everybody has a different philosophy.
Absolutely. And everybody's welcome to that.
Yeah, no, I love zinnias. I'm obsessed with zinnias. Very great to grow and easy to grow, I found. All right. So actually, before I forget, the yellow kind of sunflower plant.
Yes.
What's the name of that again?
This one, and I don't know how long we'll have it because only one company grows it. And it's a helianthus, which there are a lot of perennial helianthus that are also beautiful, and they are perennial. I was amazed that this one came back for me, and we do have it right now, but I don't know how long we'll have it. And it's called Brown-Eyed Girl.
Okay. I'm sending that in the chat to everybody. Okay, so our next question that I saw was a bit of a theme was And I know, again, this is a whole other class, but you might be able to talk a little bit in general terms about it. For our people on the call who are they only have a balcony or a deck, they're working on growing in containers. So I've been seeing people talk back and forth about, can I grow perennials? Can I grow evergreens in containers? What are the limits of container gardening? So can you talk a little bit about that in terms of?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are very few limits to container gardening. From bonsai, and we have a lot of those where we're calling them miniature, dwarf, small evergreen plants outside that fit beautifully in this situation. I am not a bonsai specialist by any stretch, but I have done that to some degree because I'm growing them outside in containers, and they're absolutely beautiful. You have to be careful that you don't overwhelm them with a spiller. However, I also have a gorgeous Japanese maple growing in a large container. You can grow a lot of things on a balcony in a container. Boxwood grows beautifully in a container. I don't recommend that you buy a Japanese holly that looks like a boxwood, because I've never been able to overwinter them in a hard winter. But boxwood will go through the winter, okay? And so, yes, evergreens, you can do that. And a lot of people buy the little spruces, particularly at Christmas time. They go through really well. And so you can do that on a deck. You can do a lot of things on a deck. You can have rail boxes. Depends upon where are you dripping water and watering and so forth. You'd have to be careful with that. And I'm sure you have some rules anyway, you know. But all of these flowers could be grown under that situation, you know. I had one gentleman who lived in Alexandria who used to follow my TV show all of the time. And he would send me pictures, and he was like on the 16th floor. And it was just a wonderland of plants. He even grew morning glories there. It was beyond beautiful. So you can do it. You just can't do it in tiny little pots, okay? You need a decent sized pot.
Okay. Yeah.
Enough?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, you can grow boxwood in the ground. I just saw that question. All right. We've had a lot of people ask this question. So I know this isn't annuals, but I'm going to ask it by popular demand.
Okay.
Do you have any favorite tomatoes that you like to grow in containers? And I have told everybody that I could that David Yost is big on tomatoes in containers. So, but do you have any preferences?
I love tomatoes in containers, and my grandchildren are all growing them in containers. One of the first ones that is absolutely incredible and almost foolproof, as long as it gets at least 6 hours of sunshine, are the cherry tomatoes, okay? And they're very flavorful, and they're beautiful in salads and so forth. The only thing is they're not big slicers, okay? And there's so many wonderful tomatoes out there that it's almost not fair to pick out a variety. Really, this year, I'm growing a few of the hybrid types, like the beefsteak, beef master, some of those bigger ones, because I want a big slicer. A lot of people only want the heirlooms, and I don't grow as many heirlooms. They're fantastic, but they haven't been as prolific, and my space is very limited. Now, I'm going to get a lot of people who say it worked for them. So it's not fair for me to say that, really, you know, because everybody loves heirlooms, and they're very tasty, very flavorful. But the cherry tomatoes I absolutely love, and the Romas. The Romas have a slightly different flavor. I always use the Romas for cooking because their flavor is slightly different. But then I go for some of the larger ones. And yes, I do have a tendency, and I'm blanking out of all the names right now, okay, but I'm immediately thinking Big Boy, Beef Master, some of those, okay?
Yes, yeah, no, I'm obsessed with the sun golds, the cherry.
Sun Gold.
I'm
Thank
obsessed
you
with
for
them.
mentioning that.
I
The
agree.
yellow one is
Um,
so flavorful.
yes, I love the sun golds. Okay, we had a few people ask this, so what I'm gonna say, since we're focused on flowers here, and it's one, we have a great video that we did a few years ago on how to plant a tomato in a container. It included fertilizer, the planting technique, the whole deal. So if anyone's interested in that, send me an email and I'll forward you the link. It's on our website too. You can search tomatoes in containers and it'll show up. Okay, it is 1 o'clock, everybody. I am sorry. I know we still have questions here. Peg, if we can get you back to do another class on containers, I think we've got more than enough content. Everybody, please feel free to send us any follow-up questions that you have. You can hit reply on your confirmation email that comes to me. My email is sburrows@mgcmail.com. I've sent it out a couple times, but you're welcome to contact me. I'll get you in touch with Peg. You can also call any of our stores. The phone numbers are on our website, and anybody would be happy to help you. Finally, we are sending out a link to the recording, and I'll be getting a plant list together for you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for your enthusiasm today. This was really fun. Usually I can
I didn't even get to talk about products.
All the helpful stuff. Yeah, guys, get some mosquito dunks if you have mosquito issues. Those things are great.
Mosquitoes and bobbits for the deer.
Yes, I don't struggle with the deer.
Not on your vegetables.
The mosquito dunks are big. All right, guys, so keep an eye out for that information tomorrow. And thank you guys so much for your enthusiasm and for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And Peg, would you like to wrap up with any final bits of information for us, words of wisdom?
It's just, I was just so excited, and I know you will be also. There's just so many beautiful combinations. Try something different. And if you do have deer, this Bob-X works for me. It really does, you know. If you only have a few things, buy this size and buy a spray bottle. Okay, end of the line. How do you deal with the deer? And a lot of people, and I deal with them.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Well, Peg, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for your nice notes I see coming in. For those of you who are asking, this is Merrifield Garden Center. We're based in Northern Virginia. So I know we've been kind of outside of Washington, D.C. I know we're getting more and more national and international attendees. So very exciting to have you guys. And Peg, thank you so much. And we will see you all on our next class. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Peg.
Bye-bye.